Greetings, this is Stacy Patrice. We're here with day 13 of the 14-day Countdown to Clarity vlog series. And I want to start today by just thanking each of you for being on this journey and listening and commenting and liking and sharing and sending me messages and signing up for services that I provide, and just all of the wonderful, amazing connections and comments and um, ripples of consciousness or ripples of connectedness that happened from this series. And, although we are going to the 14th day tomorrow, there will be other ways for us to connect in the future. And there is definitely an abundance of opportunity for each of us as it relates to the topics that have been talked about, or how we want to, take whatever ideas, inspiration, and make it our own in terms of, what what is ahead, what is in store. And so I just want to first thank everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you for humbling me in your beautiful and amazing energy. I really do appreciate it. I really connect to it. And I find that every time that I share out my purpose, I find extreme joy in the responses, extreme joy in the release, and extreme joy in the continued journey to whatever's next. So, today's topic I want to talk about is loosely about awakening and awakening your sacred self. I really got a flurry of insights last night about a lot of different things. But one of the things that I paid attention to, I was just thinking about the cultural landscape, how we connect to culture. What is our culture? What do we consider to be a cultural experience? And how does that interface with our spiritual experience? Are they connected? Are they separate? And then also, how do we awaken ourselves? How do we awaken to whatever it is that we are here for? How do we awaken to an intensified purpose? I've experienced all of this in teaching yoga, in practicing yoga, in living yoga, and I really have no real way to share out these teachings. It's a very direct path. It's a direct path to yourself. It's a direct path to your thoughts, feelings. It's a direct path to getting in touch with your physical body. It's a direct path to cultural nuances. It's a direct path to connecting with others. It's a universal path. Since so many people are practicing yoga, you have to wonder, what is it about yoga that everyone wants to practice yoga? And why do people spend all of this money practicing yoga? And there is definitely a very concrete reason. In my teaching with yoga, my platform for yoga is called Soul Healing Yoga. And Soul Healing Yoga is really about making sure that people understand that their wholeness is encouraged, their wholeness is important, their wholeness is what's missing from the fabric of our lives as a whole. And so, if that's an interesting play on words. So my goal is to restore. My goal is to restore. My goal is to remind. My goal is to awaken. My goal is to respect. I am looking to incorporate everything that I know, understand, feel, believe, and even some things that I don't into an integrated lifestyle. And that's why I call it soul healing. Because we all want to get to that part of ourselves that feels deeply connected and feels deeply responsible. And we can't really get there if we have these layers and these things that are in the way that we are taking as problems, or that we are referencing as us being broken, or we are commenting about, oh, my life sucks. Or, if we are constantly saying, that's not in the cards for me, that's not my life, I can't get to that life, that must not be who I'm supposed to be. And so I love to awaken people to the idea that who they are supposed to be is already done, and who it is that they decide to be is based on their thinking and based on their lifestyle. And so I like to incorporate things that act as cultural reminders, that act as these penetration points where people can really get in deep and find out what's going on, find out what's relevant and what's not, what patterns they're holding, what patterns they're keeping, what patterns they're creating, and then also go in a little deeper and just understand from a psychological perspective why people treat you the way that they do, why you treat others the way that you do, what you can do about it, whose buy-in do you need or not need, and then moving further into getting your mind and body to communicate with each other so that you're always interpreting to yourself all of the time. So this process that I teach is very much a liberating process, and there are a lot of different tools that I use out of my Goddess Toolkit in order to bring this process forth. I just want people to get interested in yoga. You don't have to come to me. You can come to me. You can, do it on your own. You can, go on a pilgrimage, whatever you need to do. I really want people to get interested in yoga, and especially people in communities where there is a ton of sickness, there is a ton of anger, there's a ton of stress and violence and unhappiness, and just reinstate joy and, just connectedness. And even if that connectedness right now, your journey in connectedness is just you connecting to what's going on with your body, the decisions you make for yourself on a daily basis, who are the people around you, friendships, relationships, family relationships, how can you come into those situations and make your own ripples, make your own shock waves to transform the way that everyone behaves in the space without making people upset about, your new state of being. So this is something that's very interesting to me, and I want to just talk about a couple of those experiences. So one, if you're on a yoga mat, you're in my class or you're a private client, you're on a yoga mat, we're going to experience a lot of things that are happening in your body. And of course, metaphysically, what's happening in your body is also happening in your mind, your heart, your spirit. So what I want to do is to get you connected to those things, to acknowledge those things, to see what the impact of those things are, and then be able to move you out of that space into a more restored, whole space where you get back to yourself and you get away from the things that take you further and further and further away from your consciousness and pull you back into your consciousness. One of the inviting experiences that I have taken on is to experience other cultures. It is to experience in depth what it means to connect. Okay, so I keep saying connect, connect, connect. What does that really mean? It means that I don't just honor who I am and where I was born. Sure, that's a preference. I don't just honor, who my ancestors are. Sure, that's a preference. I also honor this larger scale of connectedness. Like if I'm looking at other cultures, of course, because of my understanding of my own culture, I'm connecting it back to where I came from. I'm connecting it back into what resonates for me. I'm connecting it back into application in my life. I'm connecting it back to how all of these symbols, signs, and expressions all come back to one thread. And if I can get all of the signs, symbols, and expressions to come back to one thread, then we have clearly, solved this problem of disconnect, solve this problem of separation. The problem of separation really does come from a genuine lack of understanding of other people's cultures, other people's perspectives, and other people's frame of reference or frame of mind. If you get to the root of people's thoughts, then you start to get to understanding why they make the choices they do and the things that they do. So this is where my spiritual coaching comes into play, and where I talk to people about what are these different things in your life that you're doing in a private setting so that they can work on it, reflect on it safely, and then move out from there in terms of, just making different decisions. One of the main hindrances that I see are people being thirsty for instant gratification and sensate experience. And so being thirsty, it's just somebody who's just extremely dehydrated, extremely parched, and whatever comes along their path, they're like, oh, that's it, that's mine. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm telling you, girl, it's for me. And it's like, you kind of have this moment where you're like, has this person ever experienced anything valuable or joyful or, synchronous before? Or is it just this moment? Like every time that moment happens, it's like a miracle. And it's great to fall into that space in life where you're truly experiencing the mystery of what life is. But it's also nice to look at things for more than just your immediate pleasure. It's nice to look at things as messengers. And these messengers are speaking to you from the standpoint of whatever you feel about that message or that messenger, as it may be, is a hint and an indication to you to get you closer to your truth. And that is just really where this whole thing starts for me. If I love being in nature, if I love looking at birds, I love people, all these different things, then I understand that these signs, these symbols, these activities, these environments are pulling me right to what it is. And if I'm conscious and I'm clear, then I start moving to that place. I don't start saying, oh, well, I had a great experience last week, but that's okay. That was cool for now. Oh, I probably never experienced. That was a once in a lifetime thing, girl. But does it have to be a once in a lifetime thing? It might be a once in a lifetime thing in terms of the place and the different people that were involved and how it happened. Yeah, you may not be able to ever replicate that type of synergy. But you definitely can start to get a little methodical and start to repeat these experiences in your life so that you are constantly operating in the flow and constantly creating these wonderful, amazing, cultivated experiences. And this is where I think living comes into play. We begin to live when we start to look at what are the things that give us life. People say, oh, I'm about that life. This is giving me life. Oh my goodness, your comment just gave me life. If we look at that as a very, very, very small indicator. Someone's comment gave you life. So if someone's comment gave you life to the point you say it gave you life, then what are all the other comments giving you? Are they giving you death? Are they giving you neutrality? Are they giving you, confusion? What is it that you are getting from your experiences? And if you're not getting something that you can process, understand, or are interested in, then why is it that you aren't going deeper, or why is it that you keep choosing these same experiences? So my question would be, how can you get everything in your life to give you life? And it sounds silly, but it's not a simple thing at all. The foods you eat can give you life. The people you surround yourself with can give you life. The conversations you have, the business connections that you make, the experiences you go on, on a daily basis, just traveling through life, the trips you might arrange, the way that you handle your work, the type of passion you have about what it is that you want to do, the ability to be able to remove those layers and remove those fears and get into a space of, I'm just going to jump in, I'm going to delve in and see what happens. That can give you life as well. And again, we're right back to talking about your life force energy, right back to talking about your chi, and making sure that everything that you put in your life is something that does give you life. How many times a day do you interface with things that give you life? Just think on that for a minute. Just think on that for a minute. And I don't mean give you life in the sense of all the answers when you do it. But what experiences can you cut out right now that don't give you life? And then if you look at what does give you life, how can you replicate that on a regular basis? The new moon is coming. And so tomorrow I'm having a goddess circle in the morning. The new moon is in 2 days. So I always like to have some type of gathering or some type of ritual right before the new moon. So this is me kind of polishing up this cycle. And this cycle always, comes to me around the new moon, and I always get super invigorated and excited, and I want to do things, and I want to incorporate people, I want to connect, and I want to interface and take, this that I love and this that I love and this that I love and pile them all on top of each other and say, hey, let's experience all of this. And for me, I have noticed that the tribe of people that are interested in this type of thing just love to be in this space. It's invigorating and inspiring, and there's always something valuable to pull away from it. So it's perfect. We definitely, share our gifts. That's one of the most important things. Share our gifts so that we can each give some type of value to the other people in the room without it being about ourselves. It's going to be about you because you're there, because you're present to all this beautiful energy and you're participating in it. But it's also going to be about other people because you are also sharing yourself of service. So that type of reciprocity that happens in these circles is amazing. And I encourage you to do this. This is just about honoring your sacred being. This is about honoring the person who wants to be involved and interested and active and really wants to be able to get dedicated and immersed in some particular type of energy or experience. I think that each of us is silently seeking for relevance beyond something temporal. So we all have things that we do on a daily basis or that happens, and like I said earlier, you get that experience and you're like, oh yeah, that was so great. Wow. And we reminisce and we get nostalgic and we look backwards, we do all of our Sankofa exercises and, we're just looking at our life as a whole. And instead of adding up the sum total of that, and continuously adding to it or possibly multiplying, we just look at it as an old fraction of who we are now. And it's not really it's not really pushing that energy forward. It's saying that's who I was, but I'm older now. And so this is who I am now. And I don't have any connection to that. But at the same time of having connection to that, you have some responsibility to that. You've been building this momentum. You've been building this amazing castle. And how can you now say, well, it's built, all right, on to building a shack now? I'm sorry, it just doesn't resonate for me. It doesn't make any sense to me. We need to keep and stay connected to any type of higher guidance, power, being, spirit, energy, presence, whatever you want to call it. Let's just continue to reconnect to this. And so how do we reconnect to this? How do we evoke this energetic influence? And the answer, in my opinion, is, something somebody said to me a while ago, every creature has a preacher. And they're not the same. So however we get to it, it doesn't matter. That preacher could be certain things happening in your life or certain people in your life or certain experiences you have. It doesn't have to be an actual preacher in the literal sense. But there are things in your life that are speaking to you all the time. If you acknowledge them, and when you acknowledge them, then you realize however you get to it is fine as long as you arrive. and that there is no race and there is no rush and there is no competition and there is no dismissal that needs to be enacted in order to reach this place or in order to communicate with other people. Constantly look for the thread. Again, value, quality, thread. You're constantly looking for what does connect you to other things and other people, and not what you don't like and what you don't want. When something happens, this is an opportunity to jump in. So ask yourself, when things happen, is this supposed to be a temporal opportunity where I just engage in this and get all of my sensate satisfaction from it? Or is this something that I'm supposed to look at a little more deeply beyond the surface and check out what's really happening? Just kind of check into why this experience may be showing up and what resonates for me with it. And a lot of times, for example, I'll meet someone, and there's been a certain type of person that I have been attracting recently. And this particular type of person is very driven, very passionate about what they do. And at the same time, this person is very into presentation, into, people having a great time, into imparting some value into people's lives and getting them to remember who they are. And a little known fact, my name's Stacy, means resurrect. Okay, and so this is my birth name, of course. And to resurrect, as we all know, just means to awaken and to enliven and to, wake up the dead, remind people who they are, and allow, myself to be an example of that awakening within myself. And so everything that I touch, no matter what it is, whether it's photography, yoga, some type of presentation fashionably, or experiences, gatherings, classes, different things that I'm interested in, they are always reminding people to experience something deeper than that. And so for each of us, this is going to be different. My suggestion is to just get started. You don't have to know where to start. Have the intention to start. Have the intention to start. And whatever it is that comes across you, find an intention for it. If I meet a really handsome, attractive man, he is amazing and beautiful, which happens often, by the way. And he is amazing and beautiful, and he has all this purpose, all this passion, and he happens to be a great brother, gentleman, he's humble, he's all these amazing, wonderful things. The first thing I'm not thinking is, "Ooh, that's my man." I'm not going in that way. I'm not going in as, just this entry level experience. I am looking at it from the standpoint of all of myself, everything that I can offer and do and be and who I am, and seeing if there really is a multi-level match, if there is a multifaceted match. If there is a multifaceted match, then at some point in time, after handkerchiefs have been dropped, if he picks up said handkerchief, that's a different story. But I'm not picking up my own handkerchief. So I'm saying that to say, don't chase something just because it feels good and you're going with that sensate experience again. Look a little more deeply. Be a more complete whole human being when you approach things. Acknowledge what is. I'll be the first to tell a brother he's beautiful, or that he has amazing features, or he has nice hands, or anything like that. But that doesn't mean that I'm doing anything more than being who I am. I have noticed it, and I'm giving up the appreciation for it. And I do this with women as well, which has some people raise their eyebrow at me like, did you just tell her she was beautiful? I did. And I don't have a problem with it. I think that looking at people as whole people is what makes everything worthwhile. There's something, in my presence that makes a nicer presentation. That's when, all of myself just gets like into the experience. And sometimes things do have to come in a beautiful package in order for people to step to them. But once they get in, they're in, and they get in deep. And if there's substance there, they can get in more deeply to what it is that they came for and why this particular experience attracted them. So I encourage you to try that on, as I always say, and I encourage you to find out what that inner energy is. And women, it's really important that we connect to our Shakti energy. Our Shakti energy is our manifesting energy, it's our creation energy, and it's also the energy that allows us to be these vital creative beings in the world in the presence of all that is, to remember our goddess power, to remember this sacred science that is available to us through cultivating ourselves. And I can tell you for sure that this is what helps to heal our communities, and this is what helps to heal ourselves and our existence with other people, with the opposite sex, with the same sex, our sisterhood, our brotherhood, our relationships, our families. We are the bearers of those gifts. And so being able to know that this energy is what is making this possible How can you ignore that and not cultivate that energy? Get into something that helps you to cultivate that energy. Even if you do it selfishly at first and say, well, I'm going to cultivate my own energy. You're doing us all a favor. So please do it. Just be open to inviting new experiences into your life. Be open to checking out, as I said, other cultures and finding out what those other cultures are speaking to you. Just contact your highest energy, your highest energy. You know how you feel when you're not operating your highest energy. No one has to tell you, you know it, because there are certain things that are just impossible. You might not acknowledge it and you might not call it that. You might say, oh, it's something else, but you definitely know when you're in contact with your highest energy and when you're operating on a high frequency of perspective and purpose. And perspective and purpose is what gets you to the next level, gets you to the next point. Celebrate the new moon, step into it. Find out about your current self and what your current self is doing and how you can interfere in those non-productive processes. And then also find out, always a bird flying over my head when I'm talking about this, also find out about those parts of yourself that have been trying to speak to you that perhaps you have not been acknowledging. Continue that energy for as long as you can. Thank you all so much for listening. Please leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. We've got 1 day left on the countdown to clarity. I hope it's getting clear. It's definitely clear for me. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the day. Happy new moon. And also, just send me an inbox. If you have something that you want to say specifically, go to stacypatrice.com and send me a message there. If you don't want to say it in front of everybody, that's cool too. I'm open to that. And I'll respond to your message within 24 hours. Thank you so much. Namaste. Peace.